Welcome to Seaton Carew Golf Club, the 10th oldest in England and a true championship links. The course was created in 1874 from the natural seaside landscape, and it became the first golf course in Durham and Yorkshire. Over the years, further improvements have taken place, mainly under the direction of the renowned golf course architects Dr. Alliss Mackenzie and Frank Pennick. There are now 22 holes, providing 5 different layouts, which is quite unique. The club has hosted the English Amateur Stroke Play Championship for the Brabazon Trophy, along with many various other prestigious amateur events. Although surrounded by industry, the course is almost entirely within a site of special scientific interest, part of a national nature reserve. The well-drained soil and proximity to the sea helps to keep the course open all the year round. As with all seaside links, the conditions vary with the weather, and particularly the strength and direction of the wind. The firm, fast greens and tight fairway lies present a challenge for all levels of players. To help you enjoy your game more, we produced this flyover, showing the various course layouts together with expert tips on how to play each hole. We hope you find them useful and interesting. The first here at Seaton Carew is a straight, medium-length par 4, but you'd be well advised trying to play away from the pond and the outer bounds on the right. But stray too far to the left, and you'll be playing an almost blind shot from the 18th fairway. If you do manage to find the right spot off the tee, your second shot needs to be threaded between 2 enormous bunkers, and it always plays longer than it appears, so watch what club you play. A flag on either the left or the right edge can leave you a testing first putt on this gently sloping green. The aptly named Long Trail is the longest hole on the course. The fairway slopes from left and the outer bounds continues down the right, so once again, you need to favour the left side off the tee. Now remember, this is a par 5, so don't be caught out by the third green off to the left. Your second shot will certainly need to avoid the numerous bunkers surrounding that. Your third will probably be with a short iron, over those 2 menacing cross bunkers about 20 yards or so, short of this 2-tier green. 3 putts here are quite common, so watch out. This is the first of the par 3s, and is named after the club's founder, Dr. Duncan McQuaig. It's played from a slightly elevated tee across a series of humps and hollers and back towards the clubhouse. The raised green is well guarded by a total of 8 bunkers and slopes deceptively from right to left. 2 putts can never be guaranteed, so think before you putt. Turning back into the country, a long carry off the tee is required here, and once again you need to favour the left side to avoid the treacherous dunes down the right. Now, if you've got your drive in the right spot, you'll have a much easier approach through a narrow gap to a 2-tier green. You'll also need to make sure you have sufficient club to carry that greenside bunker there on the right, and, depending on the flag position, to get onto the correct level. Quite a feature here, 2-tiered greens. Although you're teeing off over the pond, which gives the hole its name, it really shouldn't come into play on this straightaway par 4. The good line, the best line off the tee, is just right of centre, but that deep cross bunker awaits any miss-hit approach. And again, a tricky 2-tier green means you need to ensure your clubbing is correct to minimise landing well into 3-putt country. We now come to a straightforward par 5, if there's any such thing, where the bunkers on the left are certainly within range off the tee, and there's plenty of rough down the right. This will be seen by the big hitters as a definite birdie opportunity. The second will usually be played with a wood or long iron. You need to find the fairway. That spare green away to the left is not in play, but the bunkers surrounding it certainly are. The average golfer will probably be left with a short iron for their third, but should be wary of coming up short. The green, however, is relatively flat, so a decent pitch in will give you a relatively simple 2 putts. Next we come to one of the few true dog legs here at Seaton Carew, and it'll require a long carry to clear the bushes at the corner, whereas if you hit it too straight and too long, you could just run through the fairway. The green, which slopes quite sharply from back to front, can be found with a medium to short iron, but no matter where the flag is, try to make sure you leave yourself an uphill putt. 3 putts here are not uncommon, but you can't always put your second shot where you'd like it to be, but do your best. Named after the club's longest-serving professional, Jimmy Kay, this is the furthest we venture away from the clubhouse. At first glance, this appears to be, a doddle, a simple par 4, but the rough, both right and left, gobble up golf balls, so do your best to keep it straight. In typical links fashion, the green is well guarded by 2 deep pot bunkers at the front and 2 more hidden away off on the right. Avoid them if you can, and a relatively flat putting surface and a possible birdie could be waiting. Time now to turn back towards the clubhouse, and we come to one of the few semi-blind holes here at Seaton, Carew. This requires a straight shot off the tee with menacing rough down the left and those sandhills over there on the right. The second needs to be a controlled approach because if you overshoot the small plateau green, it leaves a very difficult chip back. However, drop short and the ball may well not reach the green. In fact, getting on in regulation is quite a feat, and coming off with a par is nothing to be sniffed at. Indeed, it's quite an achievement. This is a true risk and reward hole. The drive needs to avoid 2 strategically placed bunkers in the middle of the fairway and that water hazard over on the right. However, stray left and your ball may well be gathered into that steep face pop bunker, or if you find the left-hand side of the fairway, you'll have a blind approach into the green. If you manage to avoid all the trouble off the tee, and that ain't too bad, and found the right side of the fairway, you'll have a much easier approach to a raised green. But be warned, anything short will probably stay short in the swale at the front, or be gobbled up by those 2 small but evil pot bunkers on the right. Find the green, however, and you'll just be left with a simple task of getting down in 2 more. Incidentally, if you get a chance to glance back down the fairway, you might just see a grand ship of the line making its way gracefully up the tees. Certainly not an everyday sight on most golf courses. You know, it's very doubtful if you'll see many crocodiles on this hole, but it still has a bit of a bite. The drive, if you can, should favour the left-hand side of the fairway, although anything down the right will probably run back towards the centre of the fairway, but go too far right and the deep hollows and high dunes await. Anything on the fairway will leave you a relatively short pitch to an inviting basin-shaped green. If the approach, however, drifts slightly left or right, fear not. It'll usually be gathered up and end up towards the centre of the green. However, you can be left with a tricky putt, so a par is not definitely guaranteed. Now a par 3, named Mashie. Mashie? What's a Mashie? Well, it's the equivalent of a modern-day 5-iron, and that gives you a bit of a clue as to what you might need on this typical links par 3. It's played over rolling dunes to a narrow green, which is guarded by a pot bunker at the front and slightly more shallow one on the right. Although reasonably flat, the green still has a few subtle borrows, so they're there to catch the unwary. Now, this is a super par 4. The fairway sits at an angle of about 30 degrees to the tee. You'll want to drive down the left to avoid the daunting sandhills on the right. Undulating fairway, pull it too far left and you could get an awkward lie amongst the more shallow humps and hollows. The approach shot is played between 2 deep bunkers, and there's another one tucked away along the left-hand side of the green, which will gather anything slightly offline. The green itself sits in a shallow bowl, with more steep sandhills bordering the right fringe. This is without doubt a fine example of a classic Mackenzie design. 2 putts here, often a bonus. Long hitters will try to take advantage of the birdie opportunity here, but look out for the grass bunkers and hollows on the left and those thick bushes on the right. Straight hitting is a real advantage on this good par 5. Most golfers will probably be hitting a wood or a long iron for their second shot, and although the right-hand side seems much more open, it makes the third a far more difficult proposition. But go too far left and you may find yourself in either of those two large fairway bunkers. When it comes to hitting your approach, just be aware of the deceptively long and narrow green, where the difference between the front and the back flags can be at least 3 clubs. And if you're stuck there, you're definitely in 3-putt country. The final 4 holes at Seaton Carew have long been regarded as card wreckers. But, interestingly, they start with what looks like a straightforward par 3. Once again, though, all is not what it seems, and club choice is very important, particularly when it can be influenced by the prevailing westerly wind. So, if in doubt, take a longer club, because the bunkers short of the green are definitely not the place to be. Whilst there's rough left and right, that's not friendly either. The green slopes slightly back to front, so 2 putts, be happy, walk off smiling. This is a long par 4 played from an elevated tee, and as the fairway doglegs left, there are 4 very large bunkers and a mass of bushes awaiting a wild tee shot. So unless you're a really big hitter, you'll probably need a wood or a long iron to find this well-protected, large green. Once again, an accurate approach is required if you're to avoid the bunkers left and right. And although the green is relatively flat, it can play quite slow, so make sure you get the putt up to the hole. Don't be afraid. Strike it firm. Be bold. Without doubt, this par 4, which doglegs slightly right off the tee, is the signature hole on the course. Whilst the ideal drive should certainly favour the right, anything going too far in that direction will find itself nestling amongst dozens of small little sandhills. Go too far left, and the approach to the green becomes very treacherous indeed. Now, having negotiated the difficult drive, your troubles really begin. Sorry about that, because the 2-tier green is both elevated and offset about 45 degrees. It's also guarded by a total of 5 fearsome bunkers, and I mean fearsome, and the level change between top and bottom is around 6 feet. Laying up here is often the wisest option, whilst 3-putting is the most common outcome. A dangerous hole. Beware, use your brains. As we head for home and a well-deserved pint in the clubhouse, another of Seaton Carew's long-serving professionals is honoured on this final par 4. Now, Bill Hector, a man I knew well, was a no-nonsense sort of chap, and the hole which bears his name is certainly no pushover. Now, you'll definitely want to aim down the left side of the fairway if you can, because anything with a touch of fade could well end up deep in the buckthorn away on the right. Now, this is the only hole on the course that doesn't have any bunkers, but don't be fooled by that. The green is still well protected by a series of natural undulations which often stop the approach well short of the green. The green itself is quite wide, but not very deep, so try to make sure you don't overclub and run through the back. There's out of bounds waiting there. With 18 wonderful holes safely negotiated, it's now time to sample some of the great northern hospitality, which makes Seaton Carew such a great place to come and play golf. Always a welcome.